Mrs.
Okay.
Stefanik,
This is
the
starting.
gentleman from North
This is starting to
Carolina,
go
Mr. Hudson,
already.
the gentleman from
Um,
Alabama, Mr. Palmer, the
I need
gentleman
to
from Louisiana, Mr. Johnson, the gentlewoman from Oregon, Mrs. Chavez
zoom
DeLeo,
out a little.
the gentlewoman from Virginia, Mrs. Kiggins, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries,
Okay.
the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Miss Clark, the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguirre,
Okay.
the
I
gentleman
just had to do a
from
few
California,
things
Mr.
before this started going. I thought I'd have 10 more minutes.
Del Bene, the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Clyburn, the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Nagus, and the gentlewoman from California, Mrs. Chu.
The President of the Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints the following senators as members of the committee on the part of the Senate to escort the President of the United States into the House chamber. The Senator
The
from New
chat
York,
should be
Mr.
working
Schubert.
again.
The Senator from Illinois, Mr. Durbin. The Senator from Washington, Ms. Murray. The Senator from Michigan, Ms. Stapadow. The Senator from Minnesota, Ms. Klobuchar.
Klobuchar.
The
Haven't heard
Senator
that
from
name in a while.
Wisconsin, Ms. Baldwin. There she is. The Senator from Kentucky, Mr. McConnell. The Senator from South Dakota, Mr. Thune. The Senator from Wyoming, Mr. Barrasso. The Senator from West Virginia, Ms. Capito. The Senator from Iowa, Ms. Ernst. The Senator from Montana, Mr. Daines.
That Joe Manchin I see next to Mitt Romney.
The members of the escort committee will exit the
Is
chamber
that Christian
through the
Gillibrand? Don't worry about it, Nikolai. Ah. Time to sit back, relax, watch some good old politicking. Brings me back. Who knows how much more of this we have in this country left? Ah. This is C-SPAN. I should be okay to be restreaming this, right? It shouldn't be not allowed. Nah, Hassan is streaming it. It's fine. Joe Biden. Wake up. Joe Biden. Wake up. Wake up. Joseph R. Biden. Wake up.
Mr. Speaker, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
Can I like tilt my model up a bit? That's better. That guy's got hair. Y'all see who I'm talking about. I'm not totally sure what to expect from the State of the Union. I've heard a bit throughout the day, but I only really realized that there was a State of the Union this year last night. And I was like, oh shit, I should like schedule something for this. I just saw your comment, Nicola, about both parties. I think we'd be very lucky if it ended in a fist fight. I think that's gonna end in something much more violent one day.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court.
Bitches. Why are you cheering? The Supreme Court is a dysfunctional institution that is only rolling back our civil liberties by the day. Why are you cheering? Motherfuckers. Who the hell's laughing? These people look like they're knocking on death's door. And these are the people we are running shit. Like, y'all ain't gonna be alive in like a few years, let alone to see the effects of your policies and decisions. Get the hell out of here. We look at that dude's hair. Dude has great hair. That dude, blonde dude. You all see what I'm saying? Look at his hair. I'm just saying.
Mr. Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
Who's the designated survivor for this year? I read that last year it was the agriculture secretary, but I didn't read who it was this year. I was trying to read the thing, I didn't see it. The Anthony Blinken? What's the other girl's name? The shit with the economy. Federal Reserve? Her. Ylan? Yeah. S. I don't know. I don't know this dude. I know the dude behind him. That's Pete Buttigieg. Been a while, old friend. And by old friend, I mean go run for president again. Why does that guy look like the troll face? Freaking Buttigieg is getting in line with every other Democrat supporting Biden for a potential 2024 run. Insanity. Y'all really want him to run again? I didn't want him to run the first time. And you want to put him up again? Okay. Throw the country away. Whatever. Won't matter to you guys. I mean, at least if the Republican nominee is Trump, like, Biden can probably still be him again. But it just puts us at the same place as we were yesterday. And if it's anyone besides Trump who gets a Republican nominee, and we have Biden, we're fucked. There's been polls. People don't want Biden to run again. But establishment Democrats are too scared to do anything that involves actually taking action. And not just rolling over on their backs and letting the Republicans destroy the country from the inside out. There's Marco Rubio. I remember him. Good old 2016 Republican primary. Elizabeth Warren. Here we have the fake speaker, you know, being controlled by the few votes that he couldn't get for speaker. And you know, he just gave them anything they wanted to get the speakership. Little figurehead speaker there. You got good old Nancy Pelosi. That pin she's wearing. Is that a Ukrainian flag? Is Nancy Pelosi? I know Nancy Pelosi stepped down from Democratic leadership, but has she like retired her seat? Well, obviously not if she's there, but I mean, like, is she gonna? There was a good person running against her. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're all corrupted. No sane person would contest that. But the ends of the current Democratic corruption and the ends of a Republican corruption are very, very different things. Like, anything the Democrats are doing really just pales in comparison to a single, like, headline of what DeSantis is doing in Florida. Like, from any given day. Oh, Chuck Schumer. Oh. Good old Chuck Schumer. It's the State of the Union is a speech the president gives like every 2 years. As they address the Congress and the nation as a whole. Usually reflecting on the past 2 years and also setting the agenda for the next 2 years. It's a way for the president to reflect on their accomplishments and how things are going and to set a directive for the nation at large. He will likely discuss many of the things that he has done in the past year, and he is likely going to talk about how he wants to finish his term. I don't think he'd make an announcement. It is really the place to make an announcement for another term, but he talked about what his plans are for finishing his term, or just like what he's going to be doing while he's here, while he's currently here. That will include things like I've heard he wants to announce that he wants to cap the price of insulin. Honestly, that's the only specific policy I've heard so far. I did not really keep up with what's going to be happening at the State of the Union, or what his plan is. So, we'll have to see. Team Jeffries? I think it's Jeffers? Jeffries? I don't know. I remember. Still a moderate who does not want any progressives in power, but he's more stylish than Nancy Pelosi, so I guess you got that from going from, more appealing. I would be surprised if he mentions anti-trans laws specifically. I would be surprised. He'll probably talk about culture war stuff in general. I would be surprised if he specifically mentions anti-trans laws. Is he gonna handshake McCarthy? Oh, he is. He's gonna. How many slip-ups, how many gaffes will he have today?
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
I don't remember his name. But I knew that dude.
Thank you. You can smile.
Who's he saying that to?
Thank you. Thank you, please.
He's gonna start asking where he is.
Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there.
That's who he is. I was like, this guy looks familiar. I don't know who he is. My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at.
By the way, Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow, next week. I have to stay home.
What is
Something out here. Members
what
of
is he
Cabinet,
talking about?
leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, and retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans. You know, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, right. Super Bowl. Super Bowl peaked when they had the weekend there.
I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you. And I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem Jeffries.
I don't even know who's playing in the Super Bowl. Is it the Broncos playing? Where are the Broncos from?
He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations, the longest serving leader in the history of the
Being a little self-deprecating today.
McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another, another term as Senate Minority Leader.
Minority.
This time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader. You're the majority leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what. I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to
Do
be
this shit.
the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
He called Chuck Schumer the minority leader. We can't have this dude run again.
Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all, because of the American people. 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were robbed of so much, and today, COVID no longer controls our lives. And 2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threats in the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
Whatever you say, Joe.
Tonight, we're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I can define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities. We don't think anything is beyond our capacity. Everything is a possibility.
Except fixing our country.
That Democrats and Republicans can't work together. But over the past 2 years, we've proved the cynics and naysayers wrong.
No, you haven't.
Yes, we disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together.
We can't keep pushing this bipartisanship shit.
Together to pass once in a generation infrastructure law.
When will these
building bridges connecting our nation and
people
its people.
understand?
Came together to pass the most significant law ever, helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact, it was important.
Joe is stuck in 50 years ago.
In fact, I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president. From reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, the Electoral Count Reform Act, the Respect for Marriage Act that protects the right to marry the person you love, and to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
They've watered down literally everything Biden has done or tried to do. Biden was way more ambitious at the start.
I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in more than, and not one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas. Factories closed down. Once thriving cities and towns that
Let me make my model a bit bigger.
became shadows of what they used to be. And along the way, something else we lost. Pride, our sense of self-worth. I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make sure our economy works for everyone, so we can all feel...
Yeah, you're doing the bang up jog, bro.
To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well.
The poor have a ladder up when the middle class does well? How about it specifically addressing...
Kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record.
What about the quality of the jobs, the pay of the jobs, benefits of the jobs? There is more to life than just binary employed or unemployed.
Your help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Folks, inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're
Grain in
any
Ukraine.
country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down.
All these people look dead inside.
Down $1.50 from their peak.
He's like, how am I gonna freaking go back to the Federal Reserve and fix this shit?
Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up. Additionally, over the last 2 years, a record 10 million Americans applied to start new businesses. 10 million. And by the way, every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank
Or
you
desperation.
for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital. and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything.
That dude's eyes.
Automobiles and so much more. These chips were invented in America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips, each of those automobiles. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up, people got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act.
Oh, there's Tom Cotton.
I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America. We've already created.
I'm having a donut.
We've already created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs without this law, before the law kicks in.
Wait, that as a nation?
Hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. I mean all across the country. Throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years. Outside of Columbus, Ohio, Intel is building semiconductor factories on 1,000 acres, literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment. 7,000 construction jobs, 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying an average of $130,000
What?
a year.
They call them factories.
And many do not require
What?
a college degree. Jobs.
Good old Ted Cruz.
Because we work together, these jobs where people don't have to leave home to search for opportunity. And it's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks, as you all know, we used to be number one in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world. The United States of America, 13th in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure. But now we're coming back because we came together and passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
What about public transport?
And folks,
Is that crazy?
already we've
Good railways?
over 20,000 projects.
No?
Including major
Okay.
airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland. Projects that are going to put thousands of people to work rebuilding our highways, our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America.
Last time they guaranteed high-speed internet,
And folks,
the ISPs took the money and ran.
We're just getting started. And I mean it sincerely. I want to thank my Republican friends who voted for the law, and my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promised I'd be a president for all Americans. We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking.
Look at the iconic smile.
Look, this law will further unite all of America. Projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago, badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, we've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans and from both states to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project.
Bipartisanship is a losing battle, man. You're fucking us all over.
Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know. Sarah, how are you? Well, Sarah, for 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky. The folks who built Cincinnati's skyline.
Is that the hair guy again?
Said she can't wait to be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, we're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America. 400,000 school and child care centers. So every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look.
I mean, we need less Republicans now, not later.
We're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids, which many thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it, we're going to buy American. We're going to buy America. Folks, and it's totally consistent with international trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have not anymore.
Oh, a cut.
Tonight, I'm announcing new standards that require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America. Made in America. I mean it. Lumber, glass, drywall, fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten. So many of you listening to me tonight, I know you feel it. So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind and treated like they're invisible. Maybe that's you watching from home. Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you? The folks at home remember them. You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back. Because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you
Do I have 100 subscribers now?
lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer or your child gets deadly ill. Or something happens to you.
Fetterman has big ears. I never knew.
To pay for those medical bills? Or you're going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it. I get it. I get it.
Oh shit.
Inflation Reduction Act that I signed.
Thank you, Crow, and thank you all the other subscribers.
Interest to bring healthcare
Shit.
costs down. So you
Dog.
can sleep better at night with more security. You know, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this
1 million might be a little ambitious.
but every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they
Oh,
can
Holly.
stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Package it and all, you may get up to $13. But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore.
I wonder who the people not standing up are. Totally people with Americans' best interests at heart.
So many things that we did are only now coming to fruition. We said we were doing this, and we said we passed a law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January 1 of this year. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicaid.
For seniors on Medicaid?
People are just finding out.
What about everyone else?
I'm sure you're getting the same calls I'm getting. Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes and need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
Okay.
Folks, and Big Pharma's still going to do very well, I promise you all. I promise you, they're going to do very well.
How about they don't? Fuck them.
This law also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. Costs, out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are. Because you know why? You all know it.
How about we fuck over Big Pharma and we do it today?
You know the drugs can range from $10, $11, $14, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. If drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money, it cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars. By hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs are drugs purchased by Medicare to keep their commitment to the seniors. Well, guess what? Instead of paying $400 or $500 a month, you're paying $15. That's a lot of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why wouldn't we want that? Now, some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm not going to exaggerate, but threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. As my coach, that's okay, that's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year. Make no mistake, if you try anything to raise the cost of prescription drugs, I will veto it.
Why is Cruz looking so smug? I don't like that.
Now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience, let's finish the job and make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid.
That's quite an outfit she's wearing. That's the one from Arizona, the senator from Arizona.
In climate change.
Cinema.
Ever. Lowering utility bills, creating American jobs, leading the world to a clean energy future. I visited the devastating aftermath of record floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, as I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri.
Missouri?
Global warming, not a problem. In addition to emergency recovery, from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho, we're rebuilding for the long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations installed across the country by tens of thousands of IBEW workers. And we're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances. Historic conservation efforts to be responsible stewards of our land. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren to confront it. I'm proud of how America, at last, is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while. But guess what? No, we do. But there's so much more to do. We got to finish the job. And we pay for these investments in our future by finally making the wealthiest and biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. Just begin.
Matt Gates.
I'm a capitalist, but pay your fair share.
Boo.
I think a lot of you at home agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Look.
Less and less people standing up.
The idea that in 2020, 55 of the largest corporations in America, the Fortune 500, made $40 billion in profits and paid zero in federal taxes? Zero? Folks, it's simply not fair. But now, because of the law I signed, billion-dollar companies have to pay a minimum of 15%. God love them. 15%. That's less than a nurse pays. And I need to be crystal clear. I said at the very beginning, under my plans, as long as I'm president, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in taxes. Nobody, not one penny. But let's finish the job. There's more to do. We have to reward work, not just wealth. Pass my proposal for the billionaire minimum tax. You know, there's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it.
And look at the Republicans sitting.
I know you aren't enthusiastic about that, but think about it. Think about it. Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous. Why? They invested too little of that profit to increase
The
domestic
dead
production.
stare. I think he's dead.
And when I talk to a couple of them, they say, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells, all the oil refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them? I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade. And that's going to exceed and beyond that. We're going to need it. Production. If they had, in fact, invested in the production to keep gas prices down, instead, they used the record profits to buy back their own stock, rewarding their CEOs and shareholders. Corporations ought to do the right thing. That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investments. They'll still make considerable profit. Let's finish the job and close the loopholes that allow very wealthy to avoid paying their taxes. Instead of cutting the number of audits for wealthy taxpayers, I just signed a law to reduce the deficit by $100.
McConnell's like thinking of all the lobbyists that he has to talk to now and explain shit to. Joe Manchin's like, yo, I don't know if I can do this shit. Am I still signed up as a Democrat? I think I'm gonna lose my next election.
My administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire
What's McCarthy whispering?
200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out. How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster in the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. So some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy.
Oh,
I'll give you a copy
fucker.
of the proposal.
Jeez.
That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be stopped. All right. I'm ready. We got unanimity. Social Security and Medicare are lifeline. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors.
My OBS stream got disconnected? My stream got disconnected? What happened? Am I back?
We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it. And look, I'm not going to allow them to take away be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently it's not going to be a problem. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that.
Things look okay on my end. My bitrate is fine, my connection is fine. I'm not sure the issue is.
And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare.
Maybe it's YouTube?
In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades, because that's going to be the next argument. How do we keep it solvent, right? Well, we'll not raise tax on anyone making under 400 grand, but we'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight, by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look. Here's the deal. They aren't just taking advantage of the tax code. They're taking advantage of you, the American consumer. Here's my message to all of you out there. I have your back. We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription. Look, capitalism without competition is not capitalism. It's extortion. It's exploitation. Last year, I cracked down.
Hello? Is this working?
On foreign shipping companies that were making you pay higher prices for every good coming into the country. I signed a bipartisan bill to cut shipping costs by 90%, helping American farmers, businessmen, and consumers. Let's finish the job. Pass the bipartisan legislation.
Okay, I don't know what the issue was. I don't think it was on my end.
And prevent big online platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage. My administration is taking on junk fees.
Okay, that's good that it's all functional.
Companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket.
My earbuds have been telling me that there's a low battery warning, so I hope they survive until the end of this.
We reduced exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees
I might need to
by 75%.
pull out the old headphones or something in case of emergency. But I don't know how long this is gonna be.
May not matter to the very wealthy, but they matter to most other folks in homes like the one I grew up in, like many of you did. They add up to hundreds of dollars a month. They make it harder for you to pay your bills or afford that family trip. I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels
Around 1 hour. Well, no, it seems around 1 hour for this, for the State of the Union.
Even resorts. The idea that cable, internet, and cell phone companies can charge you $200 or more if you decide to switch to another provider. Give me a break. We can stop service fees on tickets to concerts and sporting events and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage. Americans are tired of being. We're tired of being played for suckers. So pass the Junk Fee Prevention Act so companies stop ripping us off. For too long, workers have been getting stiffed, but not anymore. We're beginning to restore the dignity of work. For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements for the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed it because we exposed it. That was part of the deal, guys.
Why are the Republicans pissed off about that?
But not anymore.
Like,
Banning those agreements so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth.
the Republicans are against the most simple shit.
I must tell you.
Like, what is there even, like, what's the argument against
I
that?
wanted to get a response from my friends on my left but the right. I'm so sick and tired of companies breaking the law by preventing workers from organizing. Pass the PRO Act. Because business have a right. Workers have a right to form a union. And let's guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care.
He's going pretty, saying a lot of stuff.
That's gonna
Most
enable
not gonna happen.
millions of more people to go and stay at work. And let's restore the full child tax credit, which gave tens of millions of parents some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity. We increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work. These plans are fully paid for and we can afford to do them.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring theme of this speech. Finish the job.
You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, we made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. The rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Any nation that out-educates is going to out-compete us. Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. We want to have the best educated workforce. Let's finish the job by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from.
Why don't we make the...
School teachers a raise.
Why don't we rework the entire school system so it's actually more efficient and prepares people for living in civilization than, you know, just tacking on more and more years every so often?
Progress by reducing student debt, increasing Pell Grants for working and middle-class families. Let's finish the job and connect students to career opportunities starting in high school. Provide access to 2 years of community college, the best career training in America in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. And folks, in the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed and we were shutting down everything, let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up. And soon we'll end the public health emergency. But that's called a public health emergency. But we'll remember the toll and pain that's never going to go away. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving. Children orphaned. Empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger,
I just hear
also got
an
to
iPhone
do
go off.
prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat. Before I came to office, you remember, during that campaign, the big issue was about inspector generals who would protect taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we've recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people. And the data shows that for every dollar we put into fighting fraud, the taxpayers get back at least 10 times as much. It matters. It matters. Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome. We had to bury Tyree last week. As many of you personally know, there's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine if you lost that child at the hands of the law. Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, or playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children, I never had to have the talk with them. I never had to tell them if a police officer pulls you over, turn your interior lights on right away. Don't reach for your license. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Imagine having to worry like that every single time your kid got in a car. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. The faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and character that takes. It's up to us, to all of us. We all want the same thing. Neighborhoods free of violence. Law enforcement who earns the community's trust. Just as every cop, when they pin on that badge in the morning, has a right to be able to go home at night, so does everybody else out there. Our children have a right to come home safely. Equal protection under the law is a covenant we have with each other in America. We know police officers put their lives on the line every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much, to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more. In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk their lives every time they put that shield on. But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better. Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community intervention programs. More investment in housing, education, and job training. All this can help prevent violence in the first place. And when police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable. With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this. Something good. And all of us.
That dad looks like he's been through some shit.
Folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them. Do something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did.
Oh, but that's too far. The Republicans can't clap to that. God forbid they start mentioning guns.
Things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others. But we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side. His mom's side when she was dying from cancer. And Brandon now works at the dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there pointing a semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside. And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestled a semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio.
No one should have to do that.
He saved lives.
Why'd they have to get to that point?
It's time we do the same. Ban assault weapons now. Ban them now. Once and for all.
That fucking bitch. Shaking your head while how many people die?
In 10 years, that ban was law, mass shootings went down. After we let it expire in the Republican administration, mass shootings tripled. Let's finish the job and ban these assault weapons. And let's also come together on immigration. Make it a bipartisan issue once again.
I can only take so much Republican toxicity.
We now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers, seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
You're such smug assholes.
Citizenship for dreamers
just watching as our society
Here in
destroyed.
the people's house, it's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right and the...
What are they saying?
Congress must restore the right that was taken away in Roe v. Wade and protect Roe v. Wade. Give every woman a consular right. The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care and safeguard patient safety. Well, already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it. But let's also pass the Bipartisan Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity.
That's a surprise. Why is he wearing the bright yellow outfit?
Not just the example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Would we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did.
Okay, the war in Ukraine isn't over, just so you know, Biden.
And together, we did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukrainian's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united.
Did you forget her name?
Will you stand so we can all take a look at you?
I think you forgot her name.
Thank you. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes. Our nation's working for more freedom, more dignity, more peace. Not just in...
I don't know if my earbuds can hang on much longer.
Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating. Investing in our alliances.
McCarthy's like, please be quiet.
Technologies so they will not be used against us. Modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed. I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did. Look, let's be clear. Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world. But in the past 2 years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker.
That's
Autocracies grow
not
weaker, not
true.
stronger. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one.
What is he?
America's rallying the world to meet those challenges, from climate to global health, to food insecurity, to terrorism, to
What was he
territorial
saying?
aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more, and doing more. Look, the bridges we're forming between partners in the Pacific and those in the Atlantic, and those who bet against America are learning how wrong they are. It's never, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never. Well, when I came to office, most assured that bipartisanship assumed was impossible, but never believed it. That's why a year ago I offered a unity agenda to the nation as I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed a law making it easy for doctors to prescribe effective treatments for opioid addiction. We passed the gun safety law, making historic investments in mental health.
This is what dementia does to a person.
Breakthrough in the fights against cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes.
It's all their policies watered down, and still says that, oh, we got things done, we worked out, when even his initial policies weren't good enough.
I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. We can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared the story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year.
What?
You got it.
What? What?
So let's launch a major surge to stop.
Did you just say it was his
production
fault?
in the sale and trafficking, with more drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border.
Stopping drugs flowing in at the border isn't what's gonna help anything.
To inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children.
Double down on the war on drugs.
People
That's the
are suffering
solution.
Bullying, violence, trauma. We give them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing running children for profit. It's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online.
So what, we're gonna get section 230
And impose stricter limits
repealed?
on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civilian life. Helping veterans afford the rent, because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country.
That guy's angry.
Dennis McDonough is here of the VA. We had a first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people.
What's up with politicians
Folks,
only caring about statistics related to veterans and seniors?
expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans,
What about
help other veterans understand what they're going through.
the people committing suicide every day? You know?
Do more.
Why are we narrowing it down to just veterans?
Last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases. Provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice, an Irishman and a daughter of immigrants from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel Jill and I got married in New York City. Kindred spirits. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava.
How many people write them
I
letters?
saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo, 1 kidney removed, given a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava's beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight if she's not asleep already.
Well, I don't think you can be cured of cancer. I think that's part of the whole problem. Go into remission.
For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and proves that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through
Oh, one of my earbuds just died.
transform the global fight against
The other one might be going soon.
It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved.
I'm gonna try to charge my earbud while my other one's dying. It charges pretty fast, so I should be able to have one in my ear. I should have thought of that earlier.
As we know it. Cure some cancers once and for all. Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all of these things. Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged big lie assailed and unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is a man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong as resilient.
Oh, that's him. That's who that is.
Paul Stanley.
Looking kind of baller. Like, no, my opinions of Nancy Pelosi aside, you kind of got some drip, though. That's all I'm saying.
But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There's no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy. We must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor.
He's been saying
Must not be a partisan issue. It's an American issue.
he's not offering too many
Every generation of
solutions.
Americans has faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point, one of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we the people. We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best. Optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people. The only nation in the world built on an idea. The only one. Other nations are defined by geography, ethnicity. But we're the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God. A nation that stands as a beacon to the world.
Image of God, my ass.
In a new age of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong.
Take a look around you, Joe. I mean, you see how the Republicans were yelling at you? Not standing for shit?
I'm not new to
You're
this.
blind.
I stand here tonight, having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Oh. Solutions offered to solve our crippling, our quickly degrading and at-risk democracy. 0. Random, hopeful ideas that sound decent in theory at times, that will get bipartisan support, also 0. Republicans that pissed me off this stream, all of them. Democrats that pissed me off this stream, a lot of them. Who is Big John? Thank you, Biden, for being a bystander to our degrading democracy and doing nothing to salvage the remnants while we still can. Though, to be fair, there's an argument to be had. No, we can't, and we're already past the point of no return. But it is also partially because of him and his mindset on such things, that it is true that we are past the point of no return. There were definitely a few moments I was really pissed off. When Bobert was shaking her head. I don't even remember what it was at. And something Biden said that she's not known to be the most reasonable person. Bobert and Taylor Green, they always find a way to be the most ridiculous and stupid people in the room. It is impressive. And almost something of a microcosm of how we are being destroyed and how fucked we are. I'm gonna go to the screen. Yeah, I think that's okay. Let me move this over a little bit. Like here. Yeah, it's fine. I don't feel like this music is appropriate. What I got out from that was that nothing is changing. That Biden truly has no plan to take control of the steering wheel from the Republicans, and we are driving straight first into a ravine. I don't think I am ready, or anyone is truly ready for how things are gonna go over the next, let's say, few presidential terms. There is slim chance and possibility America makes it at the other end whole with the same soul. Every day I check Reddit, and when I'm confronted with what I see is Ron DeSantis continuing to do some formative bullshit to perpetuate a fictional culture war that only exists in radical right-wingers' heads. And despite that, they have manifested these problems so hard that more and more people are subscribing to their beliefs, and left-wingers are doing nothing to stop it. The best we can do is someone who has trouble finishing sentences at times. Hood is at the age where a bad fall kill them, and in this scenario, jeopardize the world's most powerful country. And that is our counter to the greatest internal direct opposition to everything the nation was built on and our democracy. And if that is truly the best we can do, perhaps we deserve whatever is coming to us. There are many people trying their best out there. Many voters, activists, advocates, other such people, but as was said in popular game, the game was rigged from the start. Those kinds of people, the people were never meant to have such power or say, and it is destroying us. The politicians, the rich, they will have nothing left, but perhaps they do not need us sooner than later. There is little we can really do as citizens of the United States for those of us that are, and prevent anything that is coming for us. I vote. I voted in the midterms. I voted the prior presidential election as well as the Democratic primary. But when such a huge swath of the population refuses to see what's in front of them, what can we really do? It is, I would say, it is partially a feature of democracy, and it partially is. But as I said, the system is already rigged. The Electoral College prevents any real democracy. When was the last time a Republican won the popular vote? I believe it was the later Bush's second term, and he won the first term from the most notorious Electoral College mismatch, which is still contested to this day, whether even with the Electoral College in place, he really won that election. It has been the Republicans' agenda since I believe it was Newt Gingrich. Who was it? Well, to steal and cheat the way to power. And frankly, as said, the founders never wanted the people to have too much power. So this conclusion we're heading to is a feature of the system. Our democracy as it was written was not sustainable. It is amazing we've lasted this long. I do not expect it to last much longer. And even if it does, even if things don't even get worse, they just stay in its current state, we're behind every other developed nation in terms of just quality of life, medical care, pay, democracy. We have been failing for a long time now. And aside from ripping up the Constitution and rewriting it to have modern day in mind, there is nothing to really be. That is why I want to move to the European Union as soon as possible, the country there. Because the United States is a sinking ship. I'm not particularly enthusiastic to go down with it. But the unfortunate truth is, many of us, most of us, the vast majority of us will not have a choice in this matter. There are a few lifeboats, and the lifeboats that are there come at a great cost. I don't know if I'd say it was a great run. It was a surprisingly long run, but it has had its many, many fair shares of problems. They have been exacerbated and more evident as of late, but we really have been behind other developers for quite a while. And really, just due to how our system works, constitutional amendments requiring 2/3 of states signing on, there are very limited ways to make systemic change. Either you manage to get 2/3 of the state's governments and electorate into deep blue, which is an impossible task, or take it violently, and that's not sustainable. And if you're taking state governments violently, then not much tall America left. I feel like the best we can hope for is states splitting off. I do not think America, even if America is able to sustain itself in its current state with its current system, I don't consider that a good thing. There are worse ends, but it's honestly just impossible. With income inequality and just how far behind we are, and it's just not sustainable in any sense of the imagination. If Republicans do not manage to take power permanently, the people will sooner or later get fed up, and things are going to get a lot worse before they get any better. And it's scary. I really do think the best we can hope for is we manage to somehow, who knows how, agree to split off into smaller nations or destroy the global economy. It would be absolutely disastrous for everyone. China would then become the world's most powerful nation. There would likely be a lot of conflict and strife between the remaining nation states of America. But that may be the only way, the only chance to get anywhere, as tough as it may be. You know, maybe split into nation states and have some type of European Union kind of deal amongst states willing. Of course, that is not entirely possible due to places like Florida and Texas who will want to have no association with the others, and frankly, that is probably for the best. But there's also always Canada. I wonder what their willingness would be like to set up a union that does not deprive, not that is similar to the European Union with the lefter American states. But this is all fan fiction at this point. I hope assuming I live a full human life, I hope at the end of my life I can look back and say, you know, yeah, those were fucked up times. And and I could say that, while watching the TV or reading the news about further progress being made in whatever state, whatever government I am under, thinking about it in a more historical sense. Bad days bygone. There's always progress doesn't come easy. Never has, never will. It's just a question with modern technology whether the people still have the power to tell our overlords gone too far. We're gonna make it. You're gonna make our lives hell. We're gonna make your lives hell, and this shit ain't stopping until it's fixed. And as if we have that power anymore. But this is getting really long-winded. I want to keep it succinct. So I hope what we know as America today doesn't last much longer and something better takes its place in some shape or form. Because what we know as America today is not sustainable. Nobody is going to get anywhere well, nobody except the rich and powerful are going to get anywhere. And as if history has shown us anything, when there's enough inequality, when the rich get too rich, when the powerful get too powerful, there is a line somewhere. Once that line's passed, we hit the reset. Let's just hope the reset this time doesn't kill everyone in the process. Alright, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you all for tuning in to the 2023 Sweden media coverage of the State of the Union. I thank you all for listening to me ramble here at the end. I will make a little note that as the Republican primary begins, I will covering that. I will if there are any debates, I will stream and commentate them, and I will during my streams no, I never shy away from political. I will definitely be putting my thoughts out into the world. And I will, of course, cover any elections that we have. Well, depending on how the primary is, I will cover any primary elections as we get there in 2024 and the general election. So politics don't stop here. We must remain ever vigilant, as they say. Democracy requires eternal vigilance. So, thank you for this edition of Sweden Media's political coverage. We'll be back next time, whenever that is. And see you then.